That was a big challenge.
Big challenge.
But we executed it really well.
We try to be very cost conscious to the customer. Even though it is a pretty high price, we still want to be sensitive to their budget. Select each of these colors based on other parts of the coach to make them coordinate. Ghosting in here in the pearl, there's two different colors of pearl in here. The drop shadowing, he was specific about the width of the pinstripe, which is slightly wider than we usually do.
So what are the three most expensive options you offer at Newell Coach?
Welcome to the design room here at Newell Coach. This is where the customer will spend the next 2 or 3 days basically specking out every aspect of their coach. It's a really fun process. We've got our team here.
I'm Amber Kernan. I do most of the interior design, help the customer make their selections based on their preferences, what makes them comfortable and what makes them happy and excited to travel in their Newell.
Also have Nathan Kelly, who does project management. Nate and I kind of share the task of project management. We're the kind of contact for the customer as they're going through the build. We're the liaison to production to kind of be the voice of the customer as they're putting the coach together.
I'm Nathan Kelly. I'm one of the project managers here working with the engineering team. One of our processes early on is we take the initial phone call with the new customer and then kind of ask them their likes, dislikes on floor plan, and then that's where we start building the floor plan like you see up here on the screen.
So once we've had that initial phone call and we've gotten with the client to see, what they like, what they don't like, preferences on finishes, that's just going to be a general conversation, like I said, over the phone. Then when they come in to see us, Amber will put together an initial palette based on that conversation so that when the customer gets here, we can focus in on things that they told us they like, because as you can see, there's a lot to choose from. So in order for somebody to try to go through all of that, it's just an arduous task. So this really narrows it down for them and hopefully make it less stressful. One of the things that's really unique with Newell, Andrew, is the level of customization that customers can do, and a lot of people don't really get how that works for us based on their experience with other Class A's or maybe a conversion. With those, you're kind of locked into maybe an A, B, or C plan, where with Newell, we can do different lengths of slides in each of these 4 locations. We can do 30-inch slide or 24-inch slide. It really depends on how the customer wants to arrange the interior. We can do the galley on the driver's side or passenger side, either way they want to do it. One of the things that I'll usually ask a customer is, where's your view? When you're parked at your lot or wherever you stay, is your view out the driver's side or the passenger side? And we'll usually put the galley on the opposite side until they got the big windows for their view. That's kind of an important thing for customers. Same thing with the bedroom. We can swap the bed to either side of the coach. We've got several different bathroom arrangements, so if a customer gives more precedent to the size of the bathroom, we can enlarge that. We can shuffle the slides wherever we need to in the chassis, and since we build our own chassis, that gives us ultimate flexibility on where these things are. That's a pretty important deal with the Newell Coach. So while the customer's here, there's quite a bit going on. Amber's going through the interior. Nate will be going through the contract and some of the options that are available to him. Another thing that's unique about Newell is the way we've done our contract. With other Class A's where you get an A, B, or C package, or with the converter, they set a pretty high price and then you kind of get whatever you want. With Newell, we kind of do it a la carte, and so our contract is laid out so that you pick the options you want, you don't pick the options that you don't, and you don't pay for the ones you don't. So we try to be very cost conscious to the customer. Even though it is a pretty high price, we still want to be sensitive to their budget.
So what are the three most expensive options you offer at Newell Coach?
So that, well, quite frankly, that can vary, and it depends on what the customer wants. So we have base options for about everything. For instance, for countertops, you could do a Corian, and that would be included in the base price of the coach. You can go to what we call a custom solid surface product that can be backlit, and it's got an image of stone in it. That's one tier. You could go to a quartz. That's another tier. You could go to a semi-precious stone, and that's like the ultimate tier. So you could really spend a lot of money on a bathroom countertop if you wanted to. Same thing with leather. We've got fabrics. We've got different level grades of fabrics, different grades of leather, We'd go so far as to use a product from Edelman, which is very high-end leather in handbags and shoes and that world. It just depends on what you want. You can spend a lot of money on paint, you can spend a lot of money inside. It just depends on where your preferences are.
So what's the most expensive bathroom countertop, you guys? Can you remember what it would cost roughly, or what's the most expensive?
So we have done a underlit agate countertop, which is semi-precious stone. It was a fairly large countertop. It had dual sinks in that vanity. The sinks were also custom glass. They were underlit, and that was probably about a $55,000 setup just for that one countertop. So you can kind of, sky's the limit for whatever you want to do. Same thing with paint. Included in the base cost of the coach is a 4-color paint scheme. We work with an outside contractor, and you can get about as elaborate as you want to. We can do ghosting effects in the back, multiple colors, drop shadows. We can kind of go about wherever you want to go. And this is an example of a panel that we did for a client. He had some pretty specific requests. This was actually done for NASCAR's Jamie McMurray for his coach. He really wanted to see what it was going to look like before we actually painted the coach. So as you can see, there's some ghosting in here in the pearl. There's 2 different colors of pearl in here. The drop shadowing, he was specific about the width of the pinstripe, which is slightly wider than we usually do. But we actually painted a panel identical to this, and we kept one and sent one to him so he could approve that design before it went to paint.
And then once they've designed their paint scheme, can they make adjustments to it?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a process. So she'll do an initial design, and that's usually not the one they go with. We'll submit that to them, and that'll be in a PDF we can send digitally, or we can mail them a hard copy if they prefer. And they'll look through that, see what they like and what they don't like, what they would like to adjust. Some people are sensitive to how the windows appear in the paint scheme. If they don't want the lines as broken, we can make adjustments to lines and get the look the way they want it, and we'll kind of go back and forth with them through that process until they get something that's just right for them. We have these sample cards that we'll send to the customer. As you can see, there's lots to choose from, and this isn't all. If they choose a color that's not in our inventory, we'll have it sprayed out and we'll mail it to them. And then they can see these, exactly what the color is going to be and look like. For the more complicated designs where there's a lot of shadowing or a lot of pattern, we'll actually do like a 2x2 panel and tape off, what the actual scheme will look like, and send that to them so they can see exactly what they're going to get.
We've noticed with COVID kind of made us elevate our game a little bit. We've adapted to doing remote specs. Amber's done a great job. She can compile all the interior decisions that they've made that they think they're going to like. We'll ship it out to them in a package all put together so they can actually feel the materials just like they would here. My job can be the same because we can email the floor plans back and forth, work on the coach order as they're selecting options, and it's really worked out really well, especially for people that are comfortable with the process, with the Newell process. It's really been a good benefit for us in this time.
This is what our remote spec would look like to a customer when they receive it. I typically put all of the options that they have discussed, what they would desire in their coach, and I lay everything out, all the samples. So I have countertops for them. I have everything from their wall systems, their ceiling options, and their leather options. And I also include photos of how it lays out so that they know how to put the samples with the drawings. And I include all the drawings with the options labeled and a photo of an example of one that was installed.
One of the things we do is custom rugs, and so these rugs we can select the pattern. There's different patterns that the customer can choose from, and Amber will go through and select each of these colors based on other parts of the coach to make them coordinate. We get them custom sizes, usually one for the bedroom and one for the salon, but these are beautiful. One of the things we started doing is we installed this screen here in the design room, and Nate can control it over at his laptop, but customers sometimes have a difficult time visualizing what a material is going to look like. So we've built a pretty good library. After every coach is completed, we'll go through and do a photo shoot of it. So we've got kind of an archive, and we can go back and pull similar things that we've done in the past. We can show them a countertop material, what it actually looked like in a coach. And Nate's got a pretty good library of those that we can go through. And as he's going through the contract, he's got these sections that kind of go through along with the contract, and we can show, okay, here's what we're talking about, and pick what you like.
So what this is, like he was describing, so this is basically walking through the coach order. So as we're walking through there line by line, this is a visual of what that selection is. Each area you have to look, someone says, well, what's the half bath? Well, here it is. And then when it comes to the bedside alcoves, so the arched alcoves are right here. So we can just basically walk through there and describe, see, this is the rectangular alcoves here. You've got a nightstand, so this shows the bed with a nightstand here. And then you've got your art recess, so here's your eyebrow shape. We've got the rectangular shape. And it's basically just walking, and then this shows the second facing sofas. If you wanted the Aqua Hot with the 180 gallon, this is showing the larger room slide, so on. I mean, we just...
That's that underlit agate tops that we discussed earlier.
Now that's a smaller countertop. Ballpark about how expensive of an option is just that small half bathroom countertop?
That's probably close to $10,000 just for that top. It's an exquisite product. The way that they do that is, so they mine these agates, they cut them into slices. An artist comes out and lays that pattern into the slab, and then they pour it with resin. And then once it's solidified, that gets sent to the fabricator, and then it gets cut as you've seen.
I could sit and look at these pictures all day.
Some of these are just kind of the windows. They're not really...
The ceilings. What about ceilings? I'm really impressed with all the ceilings you guys have been designing.
Yeah, I've got
Can you show off some of the cool ceiling designs?
We've basically compiled all of our, well, a majority of our ceiling designs and just put a picture up here. So basically, if someone's kind of torn on what ceiling they want, we can pull this up and just scroll through the photos to show the different styles that we've used.
You guys are the team that gets to design the most incredible coaches on the road. Is there one particular coach in particular that each of you have as a favorite?
For me, it might be the first one, just because when I got to Newell, and this is a new experience for me. I'd never seen anything to the level that Newell was. So when I came in at Coach 1270, and that one has always kind of stuck out with me. And I see that coach come through service from time to time, and it always just kind of sticks out to me.
We do so many beautiful ones, and I enjoy working with all of the customers, but I think the ones that stick out the most are the ones where the floor plan and the materials, the customers really challenged us as designers to come up with a good floor plan. Brad Kozlowski was a great one. Denny Hamlin, he probably challenged me the most with his floor plan and his finishes. And I felt like we did a really good job executing. He had a great Pinterest board that he shared with us. We were able to get materials identical to what is on his pins. And then we had another one that wanted the master bath and the bedroom incorporated in one big giant master suite. And that was a big challenge.
Big challenge.
But we executed it really well. So it's hard to say which one's my favorite, but those are the ones that stick out the most.
I really don't have a particular favorite. I would say if I had to pick one, it would just be kind of our last one, because we've got to do some new and innovative things.
So the customer has chosen all of their paint scheme, all of the different finishes. What's the next step?
For the customer, not a lot. They get to go home and enjoy life as it was. For us, the work really starts. So one of the things that's happening in the background, even while the spec is in process, is we use a software called SamePage, and it's a team software that, as Amber is entering in the selection, The purchasing department can see that in real time. They will call the vendor, make sure that the material is ready in the quantity that we need, that can be ordered. They will put a hold on it so that it's ready for us to order when we need it. And so then the purchasing department can put the price of that material back on same page, and then Nathan can see it in real time as he's filling out the coach order, so he knows if it's a standard price or a premium priced material, and he can fill out his contract accordingly. So we can do that very quickly. So typically we'll have the contract done on or before the customer has left. So then all of that data kind of gets sent out to everyone in the behind the scenes, behind the curtain a little bit, to the engineering department, the purchasing department, and into production.
How long does the entire design process normally take?
For the client, it varies. So it kind of depends a little bit on how accustomed the client is to maybe building a custom home. Most of our clients have done that at some point. For the client that hasn't really been through that, if they've just bought another, say, Class A where they've picked out an A, B, or C, sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, so we got to walk them through that. That can take a little bit longer, but the fastest spec we've ever done, I think, was about 4 hours, and the longest one took a couple of weeks to get them through, and that's fine. We want to work at their pace, their speed. We want them to be comfortable with their decisions and their selections. So it takes as long as it takes, and that's what we're here for.
What are some other important parts of the design process that are good for folks to know?
I think the biggest thing about Newell is just the amount of flexibility that we have. So a lot of clients come into this thinking about it as buying a car. So when you go into a dealership and you buy a car, typically there's a limited number of selections. You can get this leather and this color or this package, and Newell is really not that way. So we're more akin to a custom home. So you think about the number of options and materials and finishes and faucets and that's available, and all of that is available to us. And if we can get it for a client, we're going to go out of our way to do that. But there's for the customer that comes in and says, I want all the options. Well, we could spend 3 weeks going through all of the possible scenarios that are available out there. And what we really want to do is hone in on what's important to them, their lifestyle, how they use the coach, and make sure that the coach is built for that.
So if someone wants to order a coach, how does someone start the process?
So typically, customer would have found us on the website, or they found us at a show, word of mouth. A lot of our marketing and advertising is just our own customers out in the park talking to other customers and tell them about their experience. And then, the customer decides, okay, I want to look at a Newell. So they've typically been through the sales department. They've worked with a salesman. They've done a plant tour, maybe looked at some coaches, maybe decide this is what they want to do. And then once they're ready and sign an agreement, then they come talk to us, and we let the salesman do all the arm twisting. We want to have fun. I mean, this needs to be a good experience for the customer, so that's what we're here for.
How long from when they finish up the design process until they take delivery of the coach?
So the typical production time is about 5.5 to 6 months. Depends a little bit on the backlog, and we've worked around their schedule for the spec process. So we may be a little bit ahead of the curve. We may be 2 or 3 months ahead of actual production start. So that'll vary a little bit, but actual production of the coach is going to take about 6 months.
What happens if someone wants to change one of the finishes? Say 3 months into it, they go to one of their friends' new custom homes, see a finish. I can imagine that can happen, because you guys are all shaking your head. Yes, that people change their minds. How does that work?
So that absolutely happens, and that's okay. And it's just as you described. They've come in here, they've picked all these selections. Sometimes it's hard to tell, what a sample that size is going to look like on a wall. And so then they get back to the park or their home or whatever, and they see something else they like. So they call us and they tell us they want to change. Now, something that we started doing to help with the production process is, as soon as production starts, we order everything. And so, especially with COVID right now, lead times are a little bit crazy on some things. Availability is a little bit crazy. So we want to make sure that everything is in-house, so that when we're building the coach, it's there and available for production to install. So if the customer calls and that material has been ordered, we'll have to call the supplier and make sure we can return it. Sometimes there's a restocking fee. Sometimes we can't return it. And if that's the case, we'll work with the customer the best we can. Sometimes you just have to pay for that secondary material, just like building the custom home. You know, customers get into that with the custom home. You got a material on the ground. I want to make a change. Unfortunately, we got that, so we'll work through that. So Andrew, you know, we've been through the design room and we've made all our selections, and I thought I'd just take a minute to kind of show you what happens to all that information after we've got it written down. So let's go into the engineering room here. The guys in here are taking all of that data and turning it into materials that production will use to build the coach. One thing that's kind of cool about Newell is, you know, since the beginning we've built basically a little over 1,600 coaches. We have a plan in the archive for every single coach, so we can pull that out if we need service, support, or whatever after the coach is delivered. So we just left the engineering department. I thought I'd come out here and show you what happens with that information once they're done with it. So we'll prepare these drawings. They come out on the floor, and this is what the guys actually used to build the coach with. Andrew, we're back in the delivery bay, kind of where we started this morning. And this is kind of the unique thing about what we do, because we get to see, you know, the final product in all its glory, and this one's ready for the next owner to drive off into the sunset. So a little bit before this step, the coach would have been detailed and prepped for delivery, and if the customer has requested it, Amber will go through and decorate inside. So if they wanted the artwork, if they want some plantings or decorative pieces, she'll go through and do that prior to their arrival.
It's very rewarding for us to see it all kind of come together. The biggest reward is when the customer comes for delivery and it being a big reveal for them. It's kind of emotional and it really gives it purpose.
Unfortunate about COVID is we used to measure the success of our deliveries and the number of hugs we got. So you can't really do that with the social distancing, but it can be a very emotional moment for a customer that sees, you know, this is a big investment for them and it's very personal for them, and we've worked very hard to make it so. And you know, when they come in and see it for the first time, it's really cool to see that look on their face of wow.
There's a lot of jobs out there where you may not be able to get to see from beginning to end, and so kind of like what they were saying is it's such a rewarding feeling to get to see the reaction at the very end. You know, once you've worked through the whole process with them, the reveal is very fun to get to see kind of how much they enjoy the new coach.
This has been an incredible experience to see the entire design process here at Newell Coach. Cannot thank you guys enough for sharing this incredible experience with us. If someone's a serious buyer and they want to start this process, who should they get a hold of?
Probably the easiest thing to do would either be call in or hit our website, www.newellcoach.com, and there's links on there for each salesman. You can see all of our new coaches, used coaches, whatever they need. We'll get it going. I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you, Andrew, for coming out and seeing us. It's really been a pleasure walking you through this process. It's a pretty unique process, and for us to get to show it is fun to do.
A huge thanks to all of you liking these videos and subscribing to the channel, and a huge thanks to the team at Newell Coach for sharing this awesome experience with us.